Oh, hi guys. I was just enjoying some delicious honey that our bees made for us last year. Thanks, Mrs. Bee. I think it's crazy that all this delicious flavour comes just from a few flowers. And in today's episode, we're going to take a look inside a beehive. We're going to see how it works. And we're also going to realise that there's loads of other pollinators apart from bees that are just as important. So let me just finish up this delicious jar of honey and then we'll head outside and see what the story is with bees. I have my smoker, my hive tool and my bee brush. Let's go take a look inside and see if we can get some honey. So I'm blowing a little bit of smoke here on top. It won't harm the bees, but what it does is it makes them go down further in the hive because all the honey is stored up here in the top. So if we put a little bit of smoke, they'll go further down the hive. That'll let us take out the honey. Here we have what's called a full frame of honey. The bees have filled almost this entire frame of all this honeycomb structure, filled to the top with honey. And if we scratch through here, we'll find some delicious honey. So let's take some for ourselves, but always leave some for the bees. On the lowest level is called the brood chamber. This is where the queen lives, and this is where she keeps all the bees. All the young bees are born here. So this is the brood chamber. And further up is where they store the honey. So let's put the lid back on because they're very busy today. So here's the fruits of your labour. After all your work, you can cut out chunks out of those frames and you can squish them and all of the honey will run out. So you can get lovely jars of honey from that. But that's not the only thing you can get. The whole structure itself of these honeycombs is built from beeswax. And the bees make that wax. So what we do, myself and my wife, after we've crushed out the honey, we take the wax that's left over and we can turn it into lip balm. So it really is cool, all the things you can get from the honeybee. But in today's episode, I didn't want to just focus on the honeybee because everyone knows about the honeybee because it gives us these lovely things. Instead, I wanted to take the rest of the episode to look at some other types of pollinators that we don't know so much about. So in order to do that, we're going to go and meet a scientist who works exactly in that area, and she's going to teach us all about that. So let's go find out. So I found Dr. Saorla Kavanagh out here in the field doing her research. Sarla, nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Dan. How are you?
Not too bad at all, Sarla. So could you tell us, Sarla, who do you work for and what do you do?
So I work in the National Biodiversity Data Centre in Waterford. It's a wonderful place to work and my project is about protecting farmland pollinators.
Okay, protecting farmland pollinators. And how did you end up doing this sort of work and how did you get an interest in this kind of work?
I suppose my interest stemmed from my undergraduate degree in Trinity.
Okay, and what was that?
Botany.
Botany?
Yeah.
Botany, cool. Okay, sorry, and carry on.
So it's now plant science. Absolutely fascinating. Some of the best science you could ever study.
Okay.
So I had an absolutely amazing lecturers, but one in particular, Professor Jane Stout, she taught me plant and animal interactions. So it was from studying plant and animal interactions that I developed my passion for pollinators.
Okay, so I suppose a plant and animal interaction is like any time when an insect goes up to a plant and just does something with it.
Exactly, or not just an insect, any animal at all, whether it's a bird eating a berry from a tree.
Okay, great. So when we think about pollinators, we often think about the honeybee, or that's what I think about. So when you think about pollinators, can you list, are there any other types of pollinators that we might know about?
Yeah, we've got loads of pollinators in Ireland. And I suppose the bees are probably the most popular. And most people, when they think of bees, they only think of the honeybee. So the honeybee is just one of our pollinators. We have 99 different species of bees in Ireland.
99 different types of bees?
So this is one of our 21 bumblebee species. And you can identify bumblebees based on their bum. This one's got a red-tailed. So the National Biodiversity Data Centre, where I work, have these swatches. And you can get these, they're not that expensive. And they're brilliant in helping you to identify what they are. So you can go to the red coloured and it'll go through it to see what it is. And you can identify what it is, it's brilliant. So this is the red-tailed, or it's a very common bee that you'd probably see in your back garden easily. And it's very easy to identify because it's just completely black body and it's got that red tail. There's Bombus lapidarius. Brilliant, so we'll let her go now. Hopefully she'll make her way out.
Apart from the bees, what other type of pollinators would we have?
Yeah, exactly. So we've got hoverflies as well. Moths are pollinators too, butterflies to a lesser extent, and wasps even pollinate.
Okay, wasps?
Yeah.
I thought they were no good for anything. So tell me about this field we're in. Is there anything special about this particular field, or what could we find in this field?
So this is probably one of my favourite fields in the project that I'm working on at the moment. We're working on 40 different farms in the Kildare area, and this is just one farm. It's managed as a traditional hay meadow, so it's only cut maybe once, twice maximum a year, and it's got huge diversity of native Irish plants.
Yeah, I see so many different colours of different flowers all around us.
Yeah.
And they're mainly native, are they?
Exactly, yeah. So you've got the red clover, you've got the meadow buttercup, you've got some yarrow behind you. It's even got yellow rattle down in the back and philopendula, or meadowsweet as you might know it.
And so would you go around this field looking to find different types of pollinators?
Yeah, pollinators
With your
and
net?
plants, exactly, yeah. So I actually get paid to walk across this field and try and identify pollinators and also identify all the different plants.
Okay, so if any of the kids at home think that this sounds like a fun job, how do you end up doing a job like this? What should they do?
You get really lucky.
What should they study?
So plants...
Not physics?
Not physics, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Sorry, Dan. I suppose so. I studied botany in Trinity, so that's plant science. You could also study entomology, which would be the science of insects. You could do environmental science, would be another course that you could do in university. But you don't have to have a university degree to study science.
You
can go straight out of school, and some of the best plant identification people I know in Ireland don't have a degree from university.
Great, well that's great to know. So you can just kind of develop a love of it yourself, and you can just go and find other people who are passionate about it. And I think there's a lot of people who are passionate about pollinators and wildflowers in Ireland.
Yeah.
Okay, Sarla, maybe we can go to another part of the farm and you can show us something that's going on over there.
Brilliant.
Okay, Sarla's after bringing us to a location that to me doesn't look like a sort of place where pollinators might live, but she tells me pollinators actually live here. Tell us more, Sarla.
So over 60% of our bee species in Ireland are mining bees. So they mine holes into bare banks like this one.
Like this hole?
Not the big one. Brilliant. These little ones here.
Okay, yeah, those small ones.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
So over 60%, so that's of our 99 species. I'm going to let you guys work that one out. How many are mining bees? So these are our solitary bees, which means they live alone. Although you can see here that there's lots of different holes together. So we call this an aggregation. So there's an aggregation of a solitary bee species. Sometimes they could put little ones in here. This may be a badger set or something like that, I'm not sure.
Cool, great. Lovely stuff. Well, that's an unusual place for us to find bees. I'm going to watch out for these mining bees, but can you take us to another location?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, let's go. This, Sarla tells me, is a really good example of a hedgerow that's really good for pollinators. Why is that, Sarla?
Well, you can't see them now, but in the month of May, this hedge was filled in beautiful white blossoms. So it's a hawthorn hedge, a great flower for pollinators. The more flowers you have in your hedge, the more pollinators you're going to have.
Okay, and this is a really tall hedge. Are they usually this tall?
Well, it all depends on how frequently you cut it. So the management techniques used on this hedge is that it's cut every 4 to 5 years. And unfortunately, a lot of our hedges in Ireland are now being cut every year. This doesn't allow any flowers to come out, so there's no food for pollinators.
Okay, all right, so try and let them grow taller if you can. And you said to me as well that it's not just up in the hedge that you find stuff for pollinators. You said you can find stuff along the ground as well?
Yeah, the ground flora. So that's what we'd call all the flowers that are growing along the ground at the base of a hedge. So there's huge diversity of flowers at the base of this hedge. So diversity means there's lots of different types of plants.
Okay, lovely
lots
stuff.
of different species.
Great. Well, that's fantastic. We're seeing so much. Let's try one more location before we go.
Okay.
Right. So Sarla tells me that this is a nesting site for a different type of pollinator. What's this?
So this is another nesting site for bees, but they're cavity nesting bees. So we have 15 species of cavity nesting bees in Ireland. And you can easily create these with any piece of wood. You want to drill 10 centimeters deep using drill bits between 4 and 8 millimeters. That's important, and don't have any splinters. They don't like them. But what you can do is you can mount it on a south-facing wall or facing the morning sun. They like to see the sunrise. And a solitary bee will come and lay its egg inside. And you can see that some of these have been occupied, and this is when the holes are covered over. And depending on what material is used to cover the hole, you'll have a different species.
So there's bees in there right now?
There are bees' eggs in there right now.
Oh, bees'
So we'll have to come
eggs.
back in spring to see them emerge.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. Thanks so much, Sarla.
No worries.
Let's go this way.
Okay.
Thanks so much for that, Sarla. I learned so much about pollinators and about wildflowers and about where they can all live. The last question I have for you is, are you hopeful for the future of pollinators in Ireland, or are they in danger?
Well, 1/3 of our bees are threatened with extinction.
Okay.
It's quite significant.
Yeah.
And we don't even know about our hoverflies.
Okay.
But in Ireland, we have launched the All Ireland Pollinator Plan. It was launched in 2015. And I suppose it's grassed nation. Everybody seems to be getting involved, and everybody is taking action to protect pollinators.
Great.
In terms of food, shelter and safety, and providing all of those for our pollinators.
Wonderful.
So whether it's you doing it in your garden or the farmer doing it on his land, or else you taking part in getting your school to join the pollinator plan, you can record those actions, you can monitor pollinators.
Great.
And together, I'm quite hopeful that we are going to help pollinators.
Lovely. Well, that's fantastic. So it's nice to end on that little hopeful note, and I hope that you guys have learned a lot yourselves as well. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the next one.